So just before we get started, I'd just like to thank the university and the council for allowing us to spend time in Broken Hill. It was awesome. So our project involved the reinvigoration of Main Street. It was quite a complex and challenging issue, but our primary concern was reestablishing Argent Street as an important part of the community. Our proposal, entitled Active Argent Network City, involves a dynamic network of strategically located meeting places. So historically, Broken Hill has always been a meeting place. It's a city that continues to bring a diverse array of people together. For us, we wanted to realize the value of this unique characteristic and hopefully capitalize on it. So in pursuing the idea of networking, we quickly realized that it had quite strong Aboriginal connotations. So we started researching Aboriginal understanding of place and country in relation to trails that link important places together. So on arrival in Broken Hill, Sarah and I documented our initial site impressions through drawing. We were particularly intrigued by these pathways located on the perimeter of the town. They provided an amazing transition between the rugged natural landscape and the urbanized landscape. And depending on the direction you face, the interaction of the two was quite beautiful. So Indigenous concepts of place and country as a network system were derived from this early exploration of pathways and later provided the basis for our master plan, Active Argent Network City. So on a larger scale, the city is comprised of a diverse array of functions. So these functions include public spaces, residential neighborhoods, commercial districts, and other business districts, etc., all of which are linked through different networks. So networks are more than just circulation paths. So this map, for instance, looks at two different types of networks. The first network looks at how Broken Hill is linked to other surrounding communities via the highways. The second network is a localized network that links residential areas to public spaces like schools. So on a smaller scale, the same thing occurs pretty much. Argent Street acts as a trail that links points of activity. So points of activity include retail shops, restaurants, government offices, and public spaces. Certain public spaces, such as those with a civic duty, have the ability to act as meeting places. Meeting places obviously bring people together. So it was this idea of meeting place that formed quite an important part of our master plan for Broken Hill. I'll pass you on to Ollie to talk about business.
Right, so this is the current situation we've identified with Broken Hill, and we've identified 4 points of interest: the Palace Hotel, the Regional Art Gallery, the Broken Hill City Council, and the Chamber of Commerce. And what we have identified is key resources and capabilities of each of these points of interest, and where we feel we can exploit it further to benefit the wider community. So the Palace Hotel, they hold many events such as live music and tour, which really brings along a great range of customers and people to experience Broken Hill. Now they've got a really strong business plan with plans to expand into a new cafe and a new restaurant as well. So we feel that this entrepreneurial activity by the Palace and their networking abilities can be used to benefit the community as a whole. Secondly, the Regional Art Gallery attracts a great amount of visitors every year, a fantastic precinct for fine art and the history and culture of Broken Hill. Now we do understand that they are under a bit of financial difficulties, and we feel that if we diversify its operations, we can really improve on the financial position. The Broken Hill City Council, we've recognised the successful veranda program. We feel that a lot of business owners have been quite active in putting their hands up and saying, yes, we'd like to do this. So we find that it is quite successful, but we feel that it really can be extended a bit further to really reap the economic benefits of the program. And furthermore, they own some great assets such as the Priscilla bus, and we saw this Priscilla bus in the film studio. It was just covered underneath a tarp. And we feel that this is a unique asset to Broken Hill that can be really exploited as a main attraction for the city. Now finally, the Chamber of Commerce. Now they support economic development, business development, and they have a great media profile with the ABC. We feel that with Chamber of Commerce support, they can support initiatives that we will propose to you today, and we feel that a much stronger retail representation is needed. So what we've got here is the past and the future of different entities that have operated in the external environment of Broken Hill. So in the past, you can see the Main Street Committee and Argent Street traders who aren't operating anymore. We've split it between commercial value and social value at the top, where you see the Broken Hill City Council, the Regional Art Gallery, and down the bottom here you've got the Chamber of Commerce, Broken Hill City Traders, which are still operating at the moment, and the Palace Hotel. Now where we feel is a real gap is in the middle, and that's where Active Argent really comes into play. Active Argent is the committee that we want to create that brings together commercial value and social value to create what we call shared value. So the approach we've gone for is a 4-point approach, which has been used in the US, over 1,000 states all over the US, and it's been really successful. And that 4-point approach is organisation, promotion, design, and economic restructuring. So we feel that although it has been used in the US and has been successful there, we feel that Broken Hill's unique situation can benefit from this program as well. So the mission of the committee is to create that shared value, the economic, social and cultural value of Broken Hill's Main Street. And how we're going to do this is to leverage from all those resources and capabilities I've been talking about before. Now this is the structure of the committee. You've got the board of directors at the top, who will manage and organise and approve of all initiatives and oversee the management of the committee as a whole. The organisation there is primarily the link between the 3 subcommittees and the board of directors. So they will be really facilitating a common vision, a common mission, and making sure it's all initiatives are on par. The promotion subcommittee, that's really a really important committee. It promotes Broken Hill's Main Street as the cultural, the economic, the social hub of the city. It's not only promoting marketing initiatives or promotional activities, but also forums and discussion groups with the community to really share experiences, share knowledge, and recognise problems within Broken Hill. Now the design subcommittee, that's really where the heritage aspect comes into place. We really want to create economic value through the use of the historical design of Broken Hill. And finally, economics restructuring. That will aim to really increase competitiveness of businesses and open up new opportunities for businesses. And I like to sort of sum it up in 3 words: strengthen, expand, and diversify the economic base. So the committee is going to be based, a fee-based committee. We've got 3 sort of structures over here: the corporate, associate, and individual. Corporate member, it's $2,000 per annum, and that includes voting rights and complete active participation in the committee. The associate and individual membership, they don't have the full active participation. They do have voting rights, however, they support the aims and initiatives of the committee. And so what we have done here is we've just projected this little model here of the number of members we think we can get in the first year, which is about 10 members, producing about $14,000. And if we project that in 5 years' time, that number can increase to 25 members, producing $35,000. Now I'll pass it on to Celia to talk about a bit more of the business model.
So when we're exploring the financial viability of the Active Argent Committee, we decided to run a cash flow forecast over the next 5 years. So first of all, we have the fixed costs, so that would include wages, salaries, utilities, and marketing and promotional tools, to name a few. So that amounts to roughly around $96,000 for the first year. And then on the variable costs, we also, which amounts to $136,000 in the first year. So that involves the expenses from the running of our events, as well as the consulting fee for our retail expert, who will be coming in for the first 4 years. So in conjunction with income, which will be generated from the membership fees, which Roger just spoke about, as well as council support and revenue coming in from our events, that totals to a deficit of $78,000 in the first year. So an important thing to keep in mind is that this cash flow forecast has been done without any grants included. So because we know that grants aren't a guaranteed income source, so we didn't want to put that in under the assumption that we would receive one. But as you can see, in our 5th year, we expect to turn a profit of $31,000 regardless of whether we get a grant or not. Another significant note is that council support, which we've calculated as $50,000 per year, may cease once the active Argent committee turns a profit, because by then we'll be able to act independently. Additionally, we've also created a cash flow forecast with grant funding included. So through our research, we found that the Department of State and Regional Development, so DSRD, they have a project called Main Street Small Towns. So once you've made an application to them that you're trying to create a Main Street committee, you can apply for financial assistance. So should we be successful in that application, the DSRD may grant the Active Argent Committee a one-off payment of $100,000. So should we be successful, that will allow profit from the first year onwards, and over the 5 years, the positive cash balance allows us to further develop the program. Okay. Yep, now we'll pass on to Cassie.
So Active Argent Network City includes 2 major design moves. So the first being the relocation of the existing information center, and the second, the introduction of a transport hub. So the relocation of the information center from its current location to Town Hall is the first move. This will allow visitors to interact directly with the town's heritage. The facade is a architecturally prominent piece of the town, and in its current capacity, it's pretty underutilized. However, the information center is part of a larger design vision, which is integrated into our master plan, which extends from the front of Town Hall facade to the back of the current city council parking. So the design move sees the car park transformed into a shared public space that links the existing public library and the proposed information center, as well as the rest of Argent Street. And it forms a meeting place for all of these different functions to congregate. Obviously, in taking away the car park, we have to compensate for those spots, which we'll do by consolidating car parking on surrounding streets. So there'll be a shift from 45 degrees to 90 degrees, creating more car parks. I think that's about all I have to say on that design move. Just a montage of what that backspace might look like. So the second design move, just quickly back to the first one. I'm aware that council's already been looking at the relocation of the information center as a long-term objective for their strategic plan for Broken Hill, but we recommend that they reevaluate this as a short-term objective. In moving the information center from its existing location to Town Hall facade, it left the bus depot there quite redundant. So then we decided to relocate that to the train station and form a larger transport hub and consolidate all public transport in Broken Hill to one point, increasing efficiency. A part of this transport hub as well is car parking. So gray-haired nomads form the majority of visitors to Broken Hill, and they're arriving by car. But in our time there, we also observed that the longer stayers was mostly made up of students who are arriving by train and bus. So this transport hub will accommodate both visitors. Yeah, so it's actually, the bus depot is in closer proximity to Main Street now than the existing one. So it provides a more direct network, and it orients visitors to the town towards Main Street in a more linear way than the current one does. So that would be advantageous. Let you guys take it.
Yeah. So the next few slides will cover 3 events proposed by the committee. So I'm sure we've all, most of us have been to the town square, and we recognise that it's in a great location right in the centre of Broken Hill. So one of the events that we'd like to organise is music in the town square. So how it would work is that it would occur every Saturday. Sorry, not every Saturday. Saturdays fortnightly, on a fortnightly basis, and so that's to coincide with the live music at the Palace, which runs on Saturday evenings. So we'd like to work with the Palace and use their connections to bring their musicians to the town square during the day as well. And it will be different from the Palace's offering, because we'd like to make the music event in the town square more family orientated, and a reason for families to come out to the centre of Broken Hill on the weekends. So the musicians would be paid $150 for a 3-hour session, and their accommodation provided by the Palace. So your social benefits would be to create a hub of activity right in the centre of town, and that will also bring commercial benefits from increase in foot traffic to the businesses around the town square, such as Charlotte's. Secondly, we also propose that there may be art competitions in the town square every fortnight as well. So it will be on the Saturdays where the music events aren't occurring. So how the art competitions would work is that so all participants would pay an entry fee of $10, and they'd be eligible for a prize of $200. And so every 3 months, all participants would also be eligible to have their work displayed in the Regional Art Gallery. So that selection would be made by staff from the Regional Art Gallery, and that will also be a benefit to the Regional Art Gallery to bring more visitors there, as well as exposure for local artists. So the benefits of having art in the town square is quite similar to the previous slide, because you have more foot traffic there and also create a hub of community activity. So this slide covers the income and expected costs of running this event. So in terms of costs, that would cover the provision of canvas for each artist, and also the prize money. While income would come from the entry fees, which we propose to raise after 2 years to increase the quality of entrance, as well as raising the prize money at the same time. So although you can see that over the 5 years, we forecast a loss each year, we'd hope to compensate for this by running auctions, silent auction exhibitions every month. So that would involve all the works produced, and the Active Argent Committee would receive a commission of 33 cents from every dollar, which is standard with the art gallery at the moment. So thirdly, based on what Rose said about how the Priscilla bus is currently being used, we propose the Priscilla experience. So that allows any fans of the Priscilla film to, take part in the movie experience. So that would involve getting dressed up in the costumes and having makeup and having their photographs done inside the bus. So we hope to get the bus refurbished, and also memorabilia and props placed inside. So how it would work is that the bus would move around Argent Street. So on 3 days, the Tuesday would be outside the Palace to coincide with the train coming in. On Friday, it would be outside the Regional Art Gallery, which you can see from the montage. And on Saturday, it would be outside the town square to coincide with the committee's other events running there. So this table shows the expected income and costs from running the Priscilla experience. So costs would be, the main cost for the first year would be the refurbishment of the bus itself, because we recognise that it will need some work done to be able to move it around to the 3 locations. But we also have recognised the alternative of putting it on a trailer to move it around should it not be able to move itself. And so this table is projected on a basis of 10 participants each day. And although we have a loss in the first year, we will turn profit in the second year. And we've also constructed 2 other tables with different scenarios. The first table at the top takes into account a low patronage. So say if only 5 people participate in the Priscilla experience daily, we will be at a loss for the first 2 years, but turn a profit in the third year going forward. And the table on the bottom is the best case scenario, where we have an average of 15 participants daily, turning profit in the first year. So the last 3 tables, as just a recap, show that over the 5 years, whatever scenario takes place, be it worst case, best case, or in the middle, we project to have a profit within the 5 years. And so the positive cash balance at the end of the 5 years allows the committee to even develop the attraction even further, because we know that the bus is capable of many other things, including your scissor lifts, so that allows participants to rise in and out of the bus, which can contribute even further to the Priscilla experience. Okay, I will pass on to Ro to talk about shop fittings.
All right, so we've actually got 2 initiatives here to really improve the retail representation of the main street. Now, we recognise the Centro West Side district and the new Coles development as opportunities for new retailers to come onto the main street. And the opportunity is really for locally made artisanal, special to Broken Hill made products. So firstly, an extension of the Veranda project. Now, this is going to be using the same funds as the council, the $120,000 a year, but give business owners the opportunity to opt for a shop fitting as well. So that includes an adaptable design inside, so it will be customizable to different businesses that operate in the store. So what we're really creating by the shop fittings is an experience for the customer, and that's what consumption has really become to these days. It's more of an experience rather than a see and buy transaction. And the second initiative we have here is professional retail advisory. Now, we propose that professional retail advisory is to be sent to Broken Hill every 4 months, so that's 3 times a year. And that is to be working one-on-one with businesses to really improve and strengthen their retail base. Further initiatives can be improving the use of technology, which has really become apparent for moving forward in businesses these days. Now, we've proposed that this costs $50,000 per year, and that will be firstly paid up front by the committee, but we will get a 20% rebate for the fee for service by businesses that do opt to take this initiative. And just to conclude here, all the initiatives that we have talked about, including the town hall facade, moving the visitor centre, the creation of a large transport hub, between the precinct boundaries of the Palace Hotel and the Regional Art Gallery, we're really trying to create networks and that idea of crossing paths and Broken Hill really being that meeting place that it traditionally was. So that's our presentation. Network City Argent, Active Argent. Thank you.
I have a couple of detailed questions, if I may. Might just be clarification of points I've missed. But firstly, in relation to the table you put up about cash flow forecasts, I wasn't clear what your variable costs were in there, and I wasn't clear also why they seem to fluctuate quite a bit from year to year. So that's probably the first question I've got.
So our variable costs include the consultant fee for the retail advisory service. So that actually increases from year to year. We use an indicator, which is 2.5% according to CPI. And another variable cost is also the expenses of running our events. So, for example, with the art events, we actually we start off by charging an entry fee of $10 and having a prize money of $200, but we seek to raise that. So our events also will be developed over the few years. So that's why it changes.
And the variability is up and down over the years.
Oh, yeah, and another thing is also the refurbishment of the Priscilla bus. So that's quite like a large expense, which we factored as $50,000. So we hope to, we only factor that in our first year, because after that's refurbished, like we hope, we won't need to maintain it in the next 5 years. Yeah.
got a couple more, but I mean, I'm happy to.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I just went, I was looking at the expenses, the costs around the Priscilla experience, and there doesn't seem to be any staff costs in there. Are there staff costs associated with any of these things?
Yeah, that's all included in the operational costs. So we've projected that the bus will be operating from 3 till 9.
Yeah.
So that's 6 hours of operation. So we're going to be paying the operator $20 an hour, and that's 3 days a week for the year. And that is included in the operational costs that we have put up there.
Thank you. And just one more about the design question, really, and that was about car parking. I was interested. We said that the loss of car parking on the Argent site would be compensated for by, you said, by a move from 45-degree parking to 90-degree parking on surrounding streets. And I wondered what the numbers were involved in it, if you'd worked that out, but also, more specifically, does it accommodate increased demand which arises out of the Argent development itself? So would there really be capacity in relation to car park?
I haven't figured out the 45 to 90-degree angles yet as such. There is in the transport hub a substantial amount of car parking introduced there that could possibly accommodate that, because in that area there's no use for it at the moment. There's huge patches of empty space, so I think it could be fitted in there.
And following on from that, did you follow up with Peter Olsen or someone about the parking strategy that Broken Hill has, which talks about, I think, centre parking in Glen Street and Argent Street as a way of increasing the number of parks? Did you manage to have the time to...
No, I didn't follow that on, sorry.
Could I ask a question about the Priscilla experience? What is it? What am I going to experience?
Okay, so hopefully inside the bus we expect to do it up with memorabilia and props. And we'll have it as like a kind of like a dressing room. So you would come in, try on the costumes, have your makeup done, and then have your pictures taken inside the bus and also outside the bus. So because the bus is, the authentic bus from the movie, we wanted to let tourists and locals interact with that. Yeah.
So it's a mobile ATM basically. So pay your money, have the experience, then the bus moves, goes somewhere else, does the same thing. Is that it? It's not fixed in any one place.
It's fixed like on Tuesday it'll just be outside the Palace Hotel, just to facilitate that the Union Pacific train that comes in. But it moves on the Wednesday to on the Friday.
So if there are 30 people who come off the train, they want to have the Priscilla experience, they line up, because you won't get many people in there at any one time, will you?
No, we've projected that only 2 people can fit in there at one time because it is quite a small space inside, and we wanted to fit in a lot of costumes and the sort of photographer and the mirrors inside as well. So we have projected that in our cash forecasts that only 2 people at a time for an approximate period of about 30 minutes.
Question following that. You made mention that the ageing baby boomer, grey nomad coming to Broken Hill is part of the major people that are coming. Do you think the experience fits the demographics coming to the community?
Well, with our experiences, we actually interacted with a lot of tourists that came to the Palace Hotel just because they saw the Palace as a part of the Priscilla movie. And so we feel that there is a big market out there, whether it not be the grey nomad market, but I think it will be attracting a market that sort of follows that movie as a cult.
Can't speak for the grey nomads, but I know that when we went over to the power station and it was under the tarp, we were all pulling it off and jumping inside and pretty excited by it.
So a larger version of face making.
Yeah. It's not the whole experience.
Blood.
Thanks very much for that. I'm amazed at the transformation and the difference from the last presentation. just I guess, but maybe in response to that, the music events in the town square, you seem to sort of have retracted to kind of once a fortnight, I think. But I mean, in some ways, I guess I could envision that being used much more actively, and having events there that would appeal to all, you know, a much broader demographic, and maybe bands, you know, sort of, I can imagine kind of bands of music that also appeal to the grey nomads and the older set, that, you know, that doesn't necessarily have to be tied to the palace. But also I wonder, the regional art gallery kind of felt like it sort of fell off this plan a little bit. And I remember you talked about an arts and crafts fair there. Do you still see a place? Do you still see the regional art gallery as kind of an anchor to that to the plan?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the whole point of the approach was to make it incremental. So we really just wanted to start off with a few events, and that's obviously going to expand, especially the music events. I mean, it doesn't have to be on every second Saturday. You can move it to a Friday, because we know that the Musicians Club also has musicians coming in on Friday as well. But the art gallery, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the art competitions is just one way that we feel that they can get involved in the community, but also expand into music. And they've got a great piano in the art gallery as well, which can be used as well as a function event, a music event over there as well.
Do you think that when an announcement finally arrives that Broken Hill has been declared the first heritage listed city in Australia, it will be the only heritage listed city in Australia that covers virtually from those streets that you saw in the bush all the way to the rest of them, do you think that this proposal responds to that sort of notion of heritage creating opportunity for the Argent Street traders? And which part of it do you think does that most of all?
Do you guys want to?
Well, maybe at this stage of the proposal, like Rose said, it is an incremental master plan that we're proposing. It's not necessarily creating opportunity for the retailers as such yet, but I think that in relocating the town hall, it's allowing visitors to directly engage with your heritage, and it is one of your most significant architectural pieces on the street. So I think using that as a starting point is a good approach.
Yeah, I think Broken Hill definitely has that sort of potential to really become alive and use these unique things they have that are sort of hiding at the moment. But what we're trying to do is really bring it out in the community, so when it does, or when it hopefully does get named as heritage listed, then tourists will have a great experience and a unique experience of Broken Hill.
And it certainly has come a long way. I'll just reflect back on, I know that the Mayor hasn't seen any of the presentations yet, but the development of the project and the flow of ideas has really come a long way since our first couple of presentations. So thank you for all of that hard work. I'm not sure if you just had any observations, because it's the first time you've seen it.
Well, it's probably the first observation was looking at the indigenous sides of things versus European. Primarily Broken Hill was you would think would be from a European background. The discovery of BHP being from there, and then more recently having the indigenous side move in, because traditionally Broken Hill has never hasn't had that indigenous heritage, because that's one of the areas we actually fall down in on our national heritage listing. We were successful 7 out of the 8, and indigenous was part of that. So I was really looking to understand from an opening point of view that you looked at the indigenous side. What took you down that track?
I think it was those early sight impressions that Sarah and I did of the natural landscape. For us, well, for me, I won't speak for Sarah. it was incredibly beautiful. I'd never been to the outback before, and I was more drawn to the natural side of Broken Hill and what that offered as opposed to the mining. I didn't engage strongly with that. So maybe it was my direction. I don't know.
Funny you say that. Is we have a very one of the elders who lives in India now. On a documentary many years ago, she basically said that when you look at the landscape and you look at the scrub, you see bush and you see basically nothing. When I look at it, I see a supermarket and a chemist. So the interpretation of how we visualise it to the indigenous community, how they visualise it, two completely different concepts. She sees food and she sees medicine.
Yeah.
So I accept that, but I just wondered where you come from a younger perspective, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess we were just trying to look at it in a more maybe innovative way. Like the mining history is incredibly strong, and it's already been very strongly established and sold. Maybe we were just trying to sell something else that Broken Hill offers.